Hey folks, in this training today I'm going to share with you how I played an open position that arose in this game from my casual bullet match. This is game 7 of the match, those who are keeping track. I played as Bishop E2, like I sort of picked up the idea from a conversation with a friend of mine earlier in the day. With the idea that you can sort of play like this system where you just go D4 and, again, just play against the D5 pawn basically. Or, if they do play like Knight C6, you can kind of play like castles and Knight F6, Knight C3, and you basically are transposing, back into, say, the Taimanov Sicilian or the Scheveningen, like if they do something like this, for example. But you're avoiding stuff like the 4 Knight Sicilian, which can be a little bit annoying for some players to face, when you have like D4 and this sort of thing has been quite trendy at a high level in the last couple of years. So Bishop E2 is like an anti sort of system to some extent, but also is an anti-Khan in a way. Because now after c4, this, is not really an ideal setup from Black's point of view. Maybe e5 might have been a more punishing attempt, but in the game I just went Knight c3 and, just let him play his d5 move. Now, looking at it here, I think that I might not have played in absolutely the most ambitious way. I think that maybe takes an e5 might have been a bit more of an ambitious way to play this position. Something I admittedly didn't realize is after knight e4 that you can take and play like queen a4 to, win a pawn as such, which, definitely tips the scales a bit in white's favour for playing this way. But, okay, in the game I decided to play by analogy to align the symmetrical English, just going d4 and just sort of relying on the white lead in development to give white some pressure here. Now, by the way, if you're enjoying the video so far, do make sure to leave a like and also to consider subscribing. It's just a very easy way for you to be able to keep track of my trainings as I release them each day. And also, for those of you who want to make sure you don't miss them, I would recommend you tap that notification bell and set the notifications to all. That will ensure, again, that you get my training videos mentioned in your feed and, don't miss out on something important. In this position, I decided not to release the tension. I felt it might be more effective to keep the tension. But as the game played out, I started to not really like my bishop g5 move as much. Like, I was kind of a bit torn whether to go bishop g5 or put the bishop on f4. Where I had a sort of gut feeling bishop f4 might be a tiny bit more precise because of the mobility, which is kind of confirmed by the computer. But I think here I should have released the tension. I think that the reason I didn't is that I kind of made the incorrect conclusion that it's better for black to have the queen on d5 than the queen on d8 because the queen is more active here. But on the other hand, I can play bishop f3 and sort of get the tempo back, as it were. So that in a position like this, say queen a5, sort of a lot of moves you could play as white, but say we played bishop e3 just to kind of take the sting out of rook d8. You can see here how it's hard for black to develop the queen side because of the pressure against the b7 pawn. Whereas if you compare this to what happened in the game, we see that after bishop g5 take, that now bishop d7 is available. Like, I'm not really in time to get the bishop on this diagonal, so black will just go knight c6 and basically manage to equalize, or at least get very close to equality. I want to keep some peace on the board here and just avoid like knight takes d4 and bishop c6. Something like this, for instance, I think is just going to be very hard to create any sort of chances as white. So I decided to play this move in knight f3, just trying to keep a bit more tension in the position. I guess, when watching a lot of Gukesh's games, I kind of saw how he sort of kept the tension and tried to set practical problems. And I was trying to do something similar here. But I think that I was maybe not so successful in this, to be fair. Actually, after h6, there's a very beautiful alternative, which I think neither of us really considered whatsoever. But rook e7 is actually very interesting in this position, with the point that, after knight e7, for instance, you can take and actually have some very decent play for the exchange with the knight f6 idea. Actually, even if they play king g7, you can actually still play knight f6, funnily enough, because their king is basically getting mated if they take the knight. So that's a pretty fun idea, a bit too smart for a bullet game, but, it was possible. Or, if they go queen e7, similar story, you get in the knight d5, and, you get your compensation in this sort of way. With black structure being damaged. But very computerish idea, of course, a move like rook e7. After knight h4, he played b5. I felt this was all pretty standard. Knight a5 admittedly threw me off a little bit here, because I had this instinctual feeling that this can't possibly be any good, but I wasn't really sure how to demonstrate this. And, well, after seeing the previous variation, you probably figured out that, we can just go rook e7 and, basically just murder black here as after queen to d8. Yeah, I mean, there's a few good moves, but probably the easiest is just to take and, just play quietly with bishop c2 even. And it's just very hard for black to get out of, like, the queen d3 in this battery because of the pin on the f-pawn blocking it. And if they do try to trade the queens, yeah, you can just go queen c1 and, black is just getting completely murdered here, actually, with, like, rook d1 and the queen and the knight sort of coming in. It's just too much for black to deal with. But okay, this did not occur to me whatsoever. I probably should have at least, moved the bishop out of the way if I was going to not play something forcing. But yeah, I tried to play something active with queen d4, like kind of a case where, my instinct maybe led me to play a worse move because I, felt there was something there but just didn't see what it was. But yeah, bishop e6 is a good move by him, and now black is basically just going to be a bit better with the bishop pair on an open board. So I guess I got a little bit lucky in this game as well, like with b4. My idea with b4 was basically to kind of say that, well, I can get the pawn back if they go into this sequence of trying to grab the pawn. So I end up playing this move of rook e8 to sort of prepare this idea, which is actually a very good move here. It's actually very hard to know what white should do to deal with it, in fact. I ended up playing the move of h3 just because I wasn't really sure what else to do here. Like, I felt that rook d1 was just kind of just not really working. Like, I felt this just a little bit too passive somehow. So again, trying to channel a little bit of Andrei Satorov style, I tried to set things up where I can still grab the pawn, but where I can at least try to make things a little bit messy. And, maybe black should have even thought about a move like g5 just to avoid what comes up in the game. Just, flicking in this first, as it were. But, yeah, he played bishop b4 immediately, which at least allows me to get in, like, takes and to, try to get some chance against the king where, yeah, objectively it shouldn't be enough, but, it's bullet, anything can happen as such. Computer actually kind of prefers going knight e4 and, like, going for tricks in this kind of way, like just saying... Actually, it's a good example of the Illingworth principle, because my idea of rook e3 was to prepare the move knight e4, but the Illingworth principle, for those who don't know, is basically, if you play a move A to prepare move B, check if you can just play move B immediately without any preparation, and if I had done that, I would have probably found this better move, but fortunately here the difference is not so great. Actually, in the game, I thought that a move like bishop c5 and pinning is actually kind of annoying, and it turns out that it is, in fact. But he plays bishop d7, and that is actually a bit of a blunder. Although I only kind of noticed the move later, like I just played this rook g3 check as a knee-jerk, but actually I should have just played knight d5 and just murdered him, basically. Fortunately for me, he picked the wrong square for the king. Like, if he goes king h5, he's actually still going to be okay here. Like, the counterattack on a knight kind of saves him, but yeah, he goes king h7, and now this sort of fits where, yeah, I kind of got a little bit lucky. Like, I sort of saw the idea a bit too late, but still later than what he saw it. And yeah, with his fork, he ended up trying to counterattack. Actually, no, he didn't try counterattack. He played bishop e7 to defend. But then the danger comes from another angle with knight c7, and now this is going to be winning for white. After bishop d6 take, of course I can't take the rook because of the knight fork, as it were. So he goes bishop e8, I put the rook back in the center. And yeah, after bishop e5, I think this next move really fits very well with the concept of converting an advantage and, the Python strategy, as I like to call it. And it's all about the Soviet principle of fixing the opponent's weaknesses in place. So I played a move b4 and fix a6 as a clear weakness and not give him that potential counterplay with pushing these pawns, as it were. So b4 just keeps the control. Rook d8's nothing to fear, just rook a1 just breaks the pin anyway. He ended up playing bishop d6, which does fall for a little bit of a tactic. He might have assumed that I have to defend the pawn in some way. But I realized in the game I can just go knight b5 and hit him with this little trick. And after bishop b4, knight c7, yeah, I'm just setting up a little fork here. And after rook c8, even better than taking the pawn is the move I found of knight d5. And given I'm going to just be kind of collecting the harvest here, with pretty much whatever he does, like say for example he plays a5, I can, just take and, just make the point that it'll take time, but basically I just win here, like rook f1, put the rook on e7, steadily move the pieces up with the kind of advancement principle of Matthew Sadler. And that's just going to be a pretty easy win for white with, given a little patience. So that's why my opponent resigned. Maybe it was a little bit too early for him to resign, but yeah, you can sort of understand it, I guess. Anyway, that was, how to play open positions, and yeah, I'll admit that I didn't play it in the best way. Like, I did miss this very beautiful rook e7 opportunity, as it were, which is maybe the most instructive point in the game. But I'm interested to know in the comments below, like, what was your favorite move of the game? Was it this position? Was it something else I kind of mentioned? Because sometimes my private students surprise me. Like, I'll sort of think they're going to share one lesson, and then they share something completely different. It's like, oh yeah, that's actually a really good point as well. I hadn't actually thought of it. And, by sharing those points for each other, it's actually a really great way for you to kind of help each other improve your chess, which is going to be even faster if you are only relying on learning from me. If you help each other a little bit along the way as well, is also nice. But I digress a little bit. And yeah, I will see you all for the next training. I kind of have a pizza that's due to grab in the oven, so yeah, I'll enjoy that. And yeah, until the next one, take care.